all. Today I'm making one of my favorite childhood memory dishes. It's an Italian dish called beef braciole. It's packed full of beautiful flavors. It's an involtini, so that means it's something that's been stuffed and rolled, tied up and cooked in a sauce. We're going to be making a smaller version than I grew up with. We used to take a whole piece of flank steak, which you can still do, and we would open it up, butterfly it, fill it with these ingredients, roll it up, tie it up, and cook it for about 3 hours. I'm making a smaller version today, which is very authentic too. Please enjoy the video. I hope you really get to make this. It's such a special dish. You'll find the ingredients listed below in the description box, and you're going to find the full recipe at Diane's World Cooking on Facebook. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, please do. I would love it. Thanks a lot and enjoy.
You'll need about 6 large garlic cloves, which you're going to slice. This is going to be in the filling of your braciole. Also, flat leaf parsley. Just pick off the leaves, then I'm going to give them a little bit of a wash and a dry. You could also use basil leaves if you wanted instead. I have about 2 pounds of the top round thin steak. I am going to put this in between wax paper and use a meat mallet and get it even thinner. These are huge pieces, so I'm going to cut them in half, and I'm going to end up with about 8 braciole. This is a meat mallet, and of course you want to use the flat side. These are really great to have. So here I go, flattening this out as thin as I can. You can see how thin it is, and it's going to cook better this way. The filling, you're going to need some prosciutto, some Italian breadcrumbs, and some grated Parmesan Romano cheese. Now we're also going to use some twine, and make sure it's used for food grade. And also you'll need a scissor. Lay out your piece of flattened beef, and you're going to start by throwing some of your parsley all over it. You can just keep it whole like it is now, just the leaves. And then on top of that, you're going to add some of those sliced garlic cloves and sprinkle it all over. Don't worry, it's going to mellow out as it cooks. On top of that, you'll put some thinly sliced prosciutto and just cover the whole thing with one layer. You're building a lot of really beautiful flavors in your filling. And then on top of the prosciutto, you're going to want to sprinkle your cheese. Now, if you use sliced provolone, you can just put that right on top of the prosciutto. Just give it a really good sprinkling of your cheese and distribute that all over the top of the prosciutto. And finally on the top, you're going to want to add your seasoned Italian breadcrumbs. Make sure you keep them out of the container so you don't contaminate the other ones. You're touching meat and all kinds of other things. Now we're going to take a little bit of extra virgin olive oil and just drizzle it all over the breadcrumbs to moisten them, and also it gives it really beautiful flavor. So now let's start rolling up our braciole. And if you have those little ends there, you can turn them in when you get to the top. Sometimes you have those little wing ends. So tuck those in if you can. You'll want to cut some of your twine, and you'll need about 3 pieces for each small braciole that we're making. And I would say maybe a good 10 inches. If you cut them a little bit longer, you can also trim them, which we're going to do anyway. Slide your twine underneath the braciole and space it apart. Make sure you have about 3 even spots there where you've got your twine, and then tie it and make it kind of tight so it doesn't fall off in the sauce. If your ends seem not tucked in, grab a toothpick, and you're going to want to secure those ends with a toothpick. But just make sure after you cook this that you check and make sure the toothpicks haven't fallen off into the sauce. You can very easily pull them out once your braciole is totally done. And yes, when your braciole is totally cooked and it's cooled a little bit out of the sauce, you're going to need a scissor, and you're going to cut the twine off. And then you're going to want to trim off all that little excess twine. You just want to get it down as close as you can to where your knot is. There it is, looking all pretty and secure. And now I'm going to take the toothpicks and tuck them into the ends just to keep all of the filling in. So finish all of your braciole and add them to a plate so that you're ready to cook them. Get a large pan with high sides. This is called a Dutch oven with 2 handles on either side, and put some olive oil on the bottom. I'm putting extra virgin olive oil, and I've got my heat on to medium. I'm placing my braciole in, and they're going to brown on either side. I'm going to want to put some salt and pepper on them now. I'm just going to do one side. You really don't need the second side. There's already salt in that parmesan that you put into the braciole, so you're going to be fine with the flavor. You'll want to see some brown on both sides, but you don't have to thoroughly cook these. We're just browning them to get great flavor, and then after we'll put the sauce in and finish it off. Once your braciole are browned on both sides, you're ready to go, and you want to take them out of the pan because we want to start a sauce. So just remove them, and we're going to get ready to make a really nice sauce. I chopped 1 large onion, and I'm going to add that to the pan that I cooked the braciole in. That's going to make a beautiful flavor with the beef drippings and the olive oil. It's going to be wonderful. Add about a teaspoon of kosher or sea salt to your onions. It sweats them and makes the flavor beautiful. I already added some garlic in there, about 3 garlic cloves. You didn't get to see that. And now you want to add the braciole back into the pan and all of the juices that came out of them. That's really important. Now add 2 28-ounce cans of your favorite crushed tomatoes. Make sure they're a really good, high-quality Italian-type tomato. Now I'm adding a 1/2 cup of a dry red wine. If for some reason or other you don't drink wine or you don't have it in the house, this sauce will still be really wonderful without it. It just adds a little bit of a richer flavor to it. So now I'm ready to put a cover on my sauce and slowly simmer my braciole for about 1.5 to 2 hours. It does take a while, but it's well worth it. Once you taste it, you'll realize that. Now I'm going to just chop up some basil, and at the end I'm going to take my braciole out and then put the basil into the sauce. I do want to taste my braciole to make sure that it's really tender, and oh yes, it really is. It's actually almost falling apart. It's held up, but it's nice and shreddy and tender. Now that I know my braciole is tender and ready to eat, I'm going to throw the fresh basil into the sauce with the braciole. I always wait until I'm totally done with my sauce to add any fresh herbs, especially basil, so that they don't overcook. Of course, before you eat this, you have to get a little scissor out and start removing all of the strings, and you have to pull those toothpicks out. This is very common. Usually the person who does the cooking will do this. It's time to remove your braciole from all of that sauce. You can either put it on a nice platter or a wooden board, whatever you'd like to do. You also want your sauce behind so that you can use it for polenta or if you want to cook some pasta. Not only that, but you do have to remove all of your toothpicks and cut all of those strings off. So find a really pretty plate, or you could keep them on the board, and get your braciole ready. You're going to want to add some extra sauce on top of it too.
So it's time for the taste test. I've let this sit a little while because it really needs to calm down. If you try and cut something like this, where it's sort of shreddy. It's not going to cut well until you just let it sit for a little while. It's hard to see all those beautiful fillings, but they're there. I see a little bit of the green. So let's taste. This literally melts in your mouth. You hardly have to chew it. It's very soft and buttery and full of flavor. I'm getting a little bit of everything, some of the cheese, a little bit of the garlic, which is mellowed out. Believe it or not, all of that garlic we popped in there. The sauce is wonderful because it's got all of that flavor from the braciole that released as it was cooking. Serve this with some nice pasta, probably something like rigatoni or a penne or an orecchiette, just something kind of substantial. I probably wouldn't do spaghetti, but if that's your favorite, go for it. And so once again, I hope you get to make this. It's a real special treat, maybe for a special occasion or a holiday. Thanks a lot for watching.